morning. If you've got a subject out there, 2 or 3 of y'all that may be watching, please let us know, and we'll try to give it to Dr. White and let her research it. Obviously, she has not much else things to do, so she can spend there all day behind the computer trying to find something to talk about.
To do.
She's a smart woman.
And teaches classes as well.
Take that thing while me and cheat and get back with me, Jen. Johnny Lee. Good to have you back in action.
I'm so glad to be back. It's good to be with you guys.
Yeah.
And
well, let's just jump on it right off the bat. Auburn's been predicted to win 10, 11 games this year.
Well, I think they're very capable of winning 10 or 11 games this year, and they look like they could be pretty good. But it's like I said when I went to the spring game. Everybody asked me how did Auburn look. I said they look great, but so does Alabama, and so does Florida and LSU.
You're so nice.
There's a lot of good-looking teams.
Well, we crank it up. What is it? 2 weeks from tomorrow night?
That's right. I'm excited. Is it tomorrow night? That's South Carolina.
South Carolina against Southern Miss game.
Can't wait.
Yeah, that's tomorrow night. And you were correct. Brett Favre back in Minnesota.
That was easy money right there. That's for sure. You know he's still going to
play.
play.
Who started that rumor?
Wasn't no rumor. I don't know who started it, but it got a lot of publicity. All right, I want to get on something before we talk about what happened. The great message you had Sunday at church and last Sunday too. There's a thing now in USA Today. It's all over talking about teen hearing loss. Let me quote from USA Today. 1 in 5 American teenagers now suffer from some type of hearing loss, an increase of 31% since the mid-'90s.
Wow.
Most cases of hearing loss are slight, affecting only one ear and involving, well, I guess if you got one good ear, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Many teens may not even notice it. It says not iPads, but iPods are a big problem with that.
Wow.
That's 70% increase of hearing loss because you're using that. You know, you go to the gym or see anybody now, and children living below poverty levels are much higher than anybody else. The reason I bring that because, you know, hearing loss affects a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Right.
Sunday at church could have been a prime example of something like this. Jared Shepard's Christian band from Tuscaloosa played at church. Now, we sit on the front row. It was loud.
It was good.
It was loud.
It was great.
Show some of it. Let's let people judge for themselves on my birthday present.
Can you hear that?
Can y'all hear that?
Yes. Doesn't sound too loud.
Well, you picked a slow song. No wonder you can't. Get the one on I'm talking about.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah, I know you did. Show me one of the songs that had the chairs vibrate.
You're old.
I tried to go to the bathroom and the toilet paper was falling off the rack.
You're terrible. You're awful. Here we go.
All right. Oh, it's a head-banging deal.
They were a good little young group.
Very talented.
Here we go. Bring back Rex.
Stop. See, it wasn't loud the whole way through.
It wasn't if you were sitting out in the parking lot.
You're just old.
I started to go out and get with John out in the parking lot.
You did not. They were very talented.
They're a wonderful young group, but a little loud for some of the people.
But
a little.
But how, all the old people probably complain, but how wonderful is it to have the kids in church? That is the biggest point.
You know, I really appreciate Gloria's sentiment. We have the most wonderful music minister in Rex Looney, and he's just tremendous.
We're spoiled.
Well, when's he going to be back at work?
Well, he'll be back Sunday. But once in a while, we'll have a youth kind of group, and they're a little louder than others. But like Gloria said, the beautiful thing is to see the young people just getting into it.
I got to ask you personally.
Yes, sir.
You start your message, and you're telling this great story. Your daughter interrupts you and corrects you while you're up preaching.
Yes.
What does that feel like?
It was
awesome.
Yeah, it was precious. Absolutely.
Awesome.
You don't go outside and say, "Don't ever do that to me again."
I was telling the story of Samson, and I talked about Samson and
you were telling a story of Samson and Delilah, but you said Samson
and Jezebel. Yeah, Samson and Jezebel, and both of them are trashy women. You know, so anyway, but my little daughter, she called out Delilah, and I'm sure some other
stopped you mid sermon.
That's right.
No,
absolutely.
it was a little nicer than that.
But it was great. I was glad she did it because I was just sticking my foot deeper in my throat, as they say. But
I think it's just you'd have caught yourself later in the story as you
I
continue.
probably wouldn't have caught myself.
You don't think so?
No, I was, but Samson and my little seminary trained daughter, who's very very smart. Yeah.
Now, all I know is after listening to you, Sonny, my axe is dull.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, it is.
We're talking about strengthening.
What? I was kidding.
We're talking about sharpening your instrument. Never mind. Let me just say, we're talking about using the gifts and the talents and the abilities that you were talking about, and what we should all do with our abilities, of which, Jamie, you have very many abilities.
No. I got to stump on that too.
Yeah,
I'm not passionate about anything, John.
We all have talents.
You are passionate about some things, and you don't think you're passionate. We all have a heart and passion. We're in a series, is what Jamie's talking about, called Shape, and it's Shape is spiritual gifts, then for the S, then H for your heart, A for your abilities, P for your personality, E for your experiences, and of course Jamie's talking about your heart. All of us have a certain passion, certain heart for different things, and God shapes us that way, and it's a good thing God does.
You actually said there were 500 to 700 abilities.
Yes.
Not one was television host.
I guarantee you, though, that's
Not one.
Now, we just couldn't list them all there, buddy. But your ability to talk, speak, communicate, think, make fun, joke like you do.
Make fun.
Make
I don't
fun.
know that that's a good thing.
What about that animal village you was talking about?
Oh, I don't know if I can recall that whole thing, but it was kind of a cute little story of the four animals decided to have a school, and and there was.
We don't have to go into the whole thing.
No.
You were talking about some stuff there, and I get kind of carried away sometimes taking notes. I look like I'm busy in there.
Yeah,
like
you are
attention.
looking. That's right.
You say do things you're good at, sweat over the things that are hard to do. You kind of getting like a Zig Ziglar in there preaching in the morning. That's why, that's what separates you from a lot of folks, because you're talking to people that goes through daily life.
Well, Zig's awesome. He's tremendous. But we're talking about the natural giftedness
it's
that
in
people.
The Bible.
Yeah, and right, that God has shaped us. God has made us for different specific things, and it's good for us to know a lot about a lot of things. But truthfully, God has given you spiritual giftedness, and also He's given you natural giftedness to help you become good at what God's called you to be. And a lot of us try to be so good at everything, but that's really not the smartest thing. Find out what you're the very, very best at and try to be the very, very best you can do and be at that specific thing. Don't try to be forced into a mold that somebody else tries to force you into, because God has shaped you and me for different things.
And you also talked about how many times do us parents want our children to do this in life, and yet we try to push them to do that, and we have to let them be themselves.
Great statement, and I deal with this quite a bit. I'll deal with a parent who they want their child to be this, or they want their child to be that.
I want you to do this.
Yeah,
I deal with it every day.
You stop it. They have to be themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
They ain't being very good at being themselves.
Well,
they could be better.
Kids have a way of finding their own way.
Yeah.
But I've seen parents, they want their son to be a great ball player like I was, or they were, or musician, and it just doesn't work. Just let them be who they are.
I'm going to go back a week on you, John.
Yes, sir.
You said
Oh, boy.
your parents hated you were going to be a Baptist preacher.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and they really did.
Grew up Catholic.
Yeah, my folks, they and I don't know how much of the story you want me to tell, but my mom and dad wanted me to be. Well, they certainly didn't want me to be a Baptist preacher, and I never really thought about. I never thought about. I thought about being a priest at one time. Like Jan's son is a priest.
Right.
I thought about it.
Well, yeah, I thought about being a priest too until about the eighth grade. When I was in the 8th grade, I met Anna Snyder, and that's when I decided, I can't. That's not my call, right? Exactly. But my parents were such staunch Catholics, and God bless them, they were just wonderful parents. But what happened for them and for us in our situation is when I told my parents that I felt like I was going to be a Protestant minister, it was just like I kicked their teeth in. And and then it was 10 years later.
They were literally going to disown you, sort of?
Well, not disown me, but they were just sick about it. And and I don't blame them. It's just, where they came from. Exactly. And they were just absolutely sick about it. They wanted to have my marriage annulled, those kind of things. That's not too.
I wish I could have 3 of mine.
Right. but yeah, Jamie, go be anyway. But and again, my parents were awesome. But it was 10 years later. It's 10 years later. I was back in Mobile speaking at a high school baccalaureate service, and it was the first time my mother had ever heard me speak from a preaching style. And she went with me, and when she heard me, we were driving back home, and she said, "Honey, Johnny Lee," she called me that because that's my name. She said, "I just want you to know that when you decided not to be a priest and to be a Protestant minister," she said, "it was like somebody ripped my heart out and cut my throat out." And she said, "It was this most horrible thing." And she said, "But I listened to you today." And she said, "I just want you to know that you were so right and we were so wrong." Aww. And listen, my mama stayed a Catholic all her life, and she was a precious woman, and God bless her. But, you know, what a sweet thing for her to have.
But you know what your next statement was after you told that story? You said, "Don't listen to your parents."
Oh,
I got it written there. You said, "Don't listen to your parents."
But then you turned to the youth and said, "If you're living under their roof, you listen
right,
to them."
Exactly. Don't listen to your parents. But then I turned to the as long as you're at home and they're paying the bills, you got to listen to them. That's right. But my point is that once you're out of the house and on your own, a lot of people try to live their life trying to please somebody else, including their parents, rather than being who they're supposed to be.
We were at the hospital a couple of weeks ago, me and my two brothers.
This is funny.
And we're all in there with my dad and Gloria, and I said, "Well, you know, different growing up." Yeah. "Well, why didn't any of us be a doctor?" She's laying there. "Well, I ain't guess none of you was smart enough."
Really?
But see, that's the motivation I grew up with. Huh?
Real encouraging, right?
Oh, yeah, real encouraging.
Yeah.
That must be where you get it and you imply that on Lee. He needs that encouragement, you know.
Who?
That you don't seem to have that good encouragement.
You say, "Do what you love long enough and the money will come." Well, ain't it about freaking time?
I hate that word. Stop
Huh? I mean, almost 40 years, you think it'd start rolling in before long, don't you?
I think they're just...
paying a cameraman way too much money, a director way too much money. I'm telling you what Frank's getting.
That's right. There's some real wisdom in that, and what we're trying to say.
I paid 3 women too much to be married to them.
There you go, buddy.
It's your own fault.
But there's some real wisdom in that, and
What
we're
is it?
just. The fact of the matter is, if you have a passion and a heart, a lot of times, just go be what you're supposed to be. Go be what you feel led to do, and the money will eventually come. It may not be tons of money.
To make money, I got to get out and take a break right now, John.
That's
John,
right.
at 7:30 this morning, we'll cross.
If it's a godly choice,
come and see us on Sunday morning. Soon building a new place where we can get back in a couple more thousand on a Sunday. Right now, we got to go. We'll see y'all bright and early tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Hang on for John at 7:30. See y'all.
Bye-bye.